Trauma and its aftermath significantly impact each aspect of our lives. Healing from trauma can result in many good changes, including enhanced self-awareness and resilience. However, it can also have a lot of negative effects on us that we might not even be aware of. There are many different types of traumas, including emotional, physical, and psychological. A traumatic experience can be any circumstance that causes a strong, overpowering, and protracted feeling of fear, anxiety, or tension. This trauma can present itself in a variety of negative ways if left unaddressed. Following that, here are 7 signs that your character is not the one to blame, it's your trauma. Number 1. You are constantly watching for the first signal of trouble. Have you ever heard that you tend to think too negatively? When things are difficult, are you often the first to give up? Do you have trouble forgetting and forgiving when someone wrongs you? If you checked any of these boxes, do not place all the blame on yourself, because all of them are typical reactions to trauma. Studies even demonstrate how trauma makes it harder for us to be hopeful, because we've learned from experience to always be alert for the slightest sign of danger. Number 2. You have trouble putting your trust in other people. Many trauma survivors struggle to trust and connect with people, even with their closest ones. Trauma causes individuals to become more emotionally closed off, uncertain of everyone's intentions. They often overanalyze and hyperfixate on every little thing that others say or do. As a result, they find it difficult to communicate their genuine feelings to others or ask for their assistance. Number 3. You occasionally withdraw socially. One of the most common indicators that someone is still having trouble with their trauma is if it begins to interfere with their social interactions and occasionally causes them to withdraw socially. Have you noticed that you consistently turn down invites or postpone plans? Do you no longer desire to communicate with or spend time with your loved ones? Though it won't make you happy, would you rather stay home alone and do nothing? Don't criticize yourself for growing more reclusive in social situations and losing interest in your relationships and hobbies. It's probably a regrettable side effect of your trauma. Number 4. You weaken your own relationships. Have you ever discovered that when you get to know someone and begin to love them, whether romantically or platonically, you start to feel terrified or nervous? Do you ever experience the want to simply leave your relationships behind, especially when they're doing well? You have probably internalized your prior painful events, especially those that involve other people, even though you may not be aware of it. So now you anticipate that every connection you have moving forward will end in failure, which is why you're self-sabotage. Number 5. You make use of poor coping mechanisms. When people are experiencing mental and emotional difficulties and are unsure of how to handle them, it is possible to easily become overwhelmed and resort to toxic coping techniques. While others start gambling and overspending, other people start binge drinking and partying. Others could oversleep to escape their issues and emotions or overeat to temporarily feel better. Some turn to self-inflicted injury, self-neglect, or putting their lives in peril. Whatever the unhealthy coping technique may be, the fact remains that it probably resulted from your efforts to find a method to process your trauma. Number 6. You have a distant and repressed emotional side. After a traumatic event, most people experience feelings of vulnerability, fear, guilt, confusion, and sometimes hopelessness. As a result, we frequently mutter our feelings when we're not quite ready to face them. But once you get going, it might be difficult to quit, especially if you haven't fully processed or coped with your trauma. Therefore, if you find that since the trauma, you have grown more emotionally restrained and aloof, this is probably why. And number 7. Your emotions are beyond your control. The inability to manage one's emotions is another indication that someone is still dealing with the effects of their trauma. Contrary to what we said earlier, some people could feel too emotionally overloaded to suppress their emotions. They will consequently often become furious, impatient, experience mood swings, and have temper tantrums. They may begin to cry more frequently than before or begin to take out at those close to them. In either case, all of them are obvious indications of unresolved psychological trauma. So instead of blaming yourself, give yourself some space to recover and comprehend. First, practice self-compassion. Before accusing yourself of being a bad person, do you relate to any of the things we've listed before? If you are still suffering from a trauma that has not yet healed, Don't be afraid to ask for assistance from a mental health care expert right away. It can get better, and you can recover. How have you personally dealt with trauma and come out the other side? Discuss it in the comments section below. We enjoy hearing your tales. If you thought this video was beneficial, please feel free to share it with a friend. Remember to leave a like. Till the next time, take care of one another. Love you. Talk to you soon.